Joining us in the studio now is Angela Parrott. And hello, Angela.
Hi.
And you have a lot to talk to us about and a lot of stuff to educate us about, at least as far as I'm concerned, as I'm pretty ignorant on this subject. And you're here to talk to us about SADS, correct?
Yes.
Even saying the word makes me feel sad. Will you please explain to everyone what exactly that is?
It's sudden arrhythmia death syndrome, and there are several different types of SADS conditions, and the one that's near and dear to me is long QT, because that is what my son was diagnosed with over 3 years ago. But there's more than just long QT. There's several SADS conditions, and basically it's any kind of a arrhythmia problem that can cause sudden death in our youth. Everyone seems to think it's rare and you don't hear of it much, but if you really go back and look and listen, lots of kids and young adults die of a SADS condition with no family history, or they don't have any kind of a sign or a symptom until they're gone. It takes about 4,000 young people a year.
Wow.
It kills them.
Now, Angela, real quickly, I want you to tell your story about your son, just to give everyone just an idea of what you have gone through with this and your child. But before we get to that, I also want to mention what comes up to my mind, the little boy playing baseball that you heard about on the news, who got hit in the chest with a baseball, he collapsed, and that was it. And it's really sad. This is something that doesn't cross most parents' minds, let alone other people. You don't really think that that's going to happen to a child.
Right.
And will you please tell us a little bit about your story?
Well, like with Devon, he was 10. Well, he was about 10 and a half, and he was at school. And a little back history on Devon. He's been playing sports since he was about 4 years old. Youth football, he was a quarterback. I mean, he did other positions, but he did quarterback that year. He played youth basketball, baseball, soccer, and perfectly healthy. Went to well checks every year, no problems. Anyway, one day, the nurse called me from school and said that Devon had been walking down the hall and he fell flat on his face. They thought maybe he had tripped, but when they got to them, they realized that he was actually kind of out of it. It wasn't very long before he woke up himself. They just said Devon, and he woke up, and he didn't really remember anything. He said he remembered that he felt a little fuzzy, and he kind of, swayed, and then he woke up.
Wow.
So he was actually, when I got there, other than being scared and a little bit pale, he was normal. I mean, he had a little busted lip, but nothing bad.
Okay.
But the nurse and I talked, and we went ahead and took him to his pediatrician here in Sedalia. And he ran some tests, thought maybe he was a little dehydrated, but suggested to us that we might want to take him to have an EKG done just to rule things out. He didn't think there was anything in particular. He couldn't really hear anything. And so he made us an appointment for 2 days later at Children's Mercy in Kansas City. And we went, all grins, and go in there, and they hook him up to an EKG. Took 15 minutes, and we left, and we were probably about 5 to 10 miles away, and they called and said that he had an irregular heartbeat, and they wanted to run some more tests, but he was not to do anything physical until we got back there. So the next week, still not thinking anything serious, more like you hear of people having heart murmurs and things like that. So we were still in that mind frame. We were a little bit scared because they told us he couldn't run or do PE.
Okay.
And he was kind of upset. But we went back, and she walked in and told us that he had long QT, and it was a prolonged QT interval, which when your heart beats and then it goes into the resting phase, his is really long, and it never completely goes to rest before it beats again, which can throw him into arrhythmia. She told us that he was at very high risk for cardiac arrest, that we needed to have an AED, which is an automated defibrillator, at all times. He wasn't to be left alone. He wasn't to play sports. He wasn't to do PE. Very emotional day.
Absolutely. Can I interrupt you for just a moment and ask you, what have they done for him? And is he better now? Is he able to do sports and PE? Is he able to play like a normal, how old is he now?
He's 13 now.
He's 13 now. A normal 13-year-old.
It's his normal. So basically about 4 months of waiting for genetic testing to come back, it was confirmed of what kind of condition he did have, and he was at really high risk for cardiac arrest. So they did not feel comfortable with that, and they implanted an ICD in his chest, an internal cardio defibrillator.
Okay.
That's basically his little safety. And at that point, they had also found out that the type that he has is not really when he's active, it's more when he is at rest. So he's at higher risk when he's sleeping or in the class classroom.
Wow.
Or, for instance, in the movie, which is something that happened this year. But he got to go back to doing a little bit more physical activity. He can no longer play football, but she is allowing him to be the kicker. So he's been taking kicking lessons for 3 years. We actually go to St. Louis for that. And he's actually can make a 35-yard field goal as a 13-year-old. So pretty impressed by that. And as far as basketball goes, at first it was a big no, but we started doing a lot of research, and as long as he wears a heart rate monitor and a padded shirt to protect his device, there's really no reason why he can't play as long as he can keep control of his heart rate. So she's doing that year to year. He just finished up his first junior high basketball season, and he had no problems. We went to the doctors. They read his ICD. He's had no episodes, and she went ahead and gave him permission to play again next year. So when you say a normal 13-year-old, he has a whole lot of different restrictions and different things he has to do.
Right.
But he's back to doing what he can. And anything that he can do, he can still do PE. There's things he has to sit out of. It's so much better than 3 years ago. We thought all of that was over. But he's on 2 medications, and the second medication came because this summer he had some other health issues, and after he was getting better with all of that, we were actually at the Sedalia movie theater. Let's get away from, he had been in the hospital twice over a couple weeks, and I was with my younger son in one movie, and Dad was with him, and they come and got me out of the movie because he went into cardiac arrest, and his device shocked him. It woke him up. He didn't remember it again. My husband tried to wake him up and he couldn't, though the first time he kind of came out of it and then he went back into cardiac arrest. So we had to take him back to...
I just put my hand up. That's why she paused, because I have to remind everyone in the audience that he is 13 years old and in cardiac arrest with his family because he sat down to watch a movie.
Yes.
I mean, that's why we're here, and that's why you're here. And I know you're getting emotional, and that's okay, because you have every right to get emotional. And if you don't mind, I'll just go ahead and go into what you're here to talk about.
Yes.
And that is Saturday, April the 2nd, 7 to 11 in the morning, a breakfast fundraiser. They're having a 5K run walk. It's Devon's Beat 5K run walk. I want to make sure I say that. Devon's Beat one more time. 5K run walk. 8 o'clock registration in the morning. 9 o'clock in the morning, the 5K begins. 10 o'clock in the morning, kids 100-yard dash. 10:30 in the morning, they're going to have an awards show. Anything else you'd like to add about this?
The 100-yard dash is new this year. We've never done that before. And then we also have a dance and silent auction that evening that we have been getting a lot of great items donated to us to have a silent auction. Last year's the first year that we did that, and we raised an extra $2,000. Used to, we did a raffle, and we decided to throw in this dance, and we raised about $2,000 or $3,000 more by having these items to auction off, and we're going to do it again. And
the proceeds are going to Devon's Beat for heart screenings for kids, heart screenings for children. Now, do you do those at this function, or how does this work?
In the past year, we've screened 184 kids, and we've been to several places. We have done it in Lincoln, of course. We've probably had 3 in Lincoln. Climax Springs, we went to them this year. We actually did one here at State Fair Community College in October. We've never done this before, but on the day of the race, we are actually going to offer heart screenings that day as well. That way, the people who are already there, especially after their kids have just performed, we're going to make them cool down and everything, but it meant if they want to see how their son or daughter is doing after they've ran a race or, walked it, whatever they decide to do. So we're actually going to be there. She'll be there from 9 to 3, and we have spots available. It is no cost to the person whatsoever. Devon's Beat's going to pay 100%. And there's about 18 spots that people can fill, and they can just call me. I'm sure we'll get to that information here in a minute. And they can sign their kid up ahead of time. Right. I would suggest them signing them up before the 2nd, because I have a feeling that we will probably be booked by then.
And again, that is Saturday, April the 2nd at the First Baptist Church, Foster Hall in Lincoln.
Yes, it's across from the school. We start the race right there at the Lincoln High School. We usually set up everything over towards the football field, but the Foster Hall has offered us basically shelter because sometimes it's windy. We're going to have our registration there. We're going to have our screenings there, but it's basically just across from the school.
And what's your Facebook page called so people can find find you and learn more about this also?
They can find out more about Devon's Beat. It's actually called Devon's Beat.
Okay.
It's just under there. And my name's Angela Parrott. If they have trouble finding Devon's Beat and they want to look up my name, they'll see plenty of Devon's Beat information on my page.
I'll tell you, this is something that hits close to home, especially for any parent. I can't imagine being in your shoes. You know, I'm thanking God right now that I have healthy children, because you don't think about things until you're faced with them. A lot of us don't. And this is an absolutely heart-wrenching story, and I wish you and your family and your son so well.
Thank you.
Again, please support SADS and Devon's Beat. It's the Devon's Beat Run Walk. It's a 5K run walk Saturday, April 2nd from 7 to 11. It is a breakfast fundraiser as well at the First Baptist Church, Foster Hall in Lincoln. And again, you can find more information on Facebook with Devon's Beat. You can contact Angela Parrott. Her information will be right there for you. And Angela, thank you so much for spending time with us and sharing your story.
Thank you.